Taking.
Okay, right, done. Done.
Fight against and to counter the dark forces. What can be the new forces of light? 1. Leadership and statesmanship. From Anwar, from Shafi Abda, from Rafizi, from Mat Sabu, Guan Eng, Lok, Syed Sadiq, even Ismail Sabri and others who reject and some of this has already taken place. I have a colleague here, Tan Sri Yong Bo Kon, who has written about this on how perhaps the Barisan parties could have set up a single multiracial party. And most recently, Ronnie Liu in his Facebook devoted his attention to how this can be set up within the Pakatan. So, to me, a single multiracial party has been the missing face of development in Malaysian politics. GE15 and its aftermath perhaps can provide the opening to correct it. Thank you.
Session.
The ladies need to leave.
Oh, okay. Anyone leaving? Sorry.
It's self-promotion, not to do. Thank you, everybody.
Yes, a big smile.
Yeah.
So friends at the far end, you may come forward for the photograph. Open the books, yeah. Just one flip. Okay, thank you all the endorsers. And now I want to have Dr. Lim and Mr. Marek to remain on stage for the next session. So without further ado, thanks for all the endorsers for the event. We are glad to have Mr. Syarakutan to be the moderator of the forum today. So let's pass the time to Mr. Syarakutan. Mr. Syarakutan.
Blame other races. Don't say that we are not being empathic to others. Okay, this I want to see the problem. What I see in this country is the use of religion in politics. You have to understand that religion and race in Malaysia is so intertwined. So when we talk about Islam, then Malays are brought into it as well. There's nothing wrong being religious, of course, but our politicians, and God is great, he or she or whoever God is has shown what is happening by using religion in politics. So I want to spark a change. I want to challenge the politicians to support me to say that we must separate religion and state. Ladies and gentlemen, separation of religion and state is the beginning. Federal government has no business managing religion. Their work is to ensure all of the citizens of Malaysia to obtain the same thing in terms of health, education, all the things that we all should be getting together. Not based on race, not based on any religious belief. Okay. As per our constitution, religion, I I mean, in Malaysia, it's all about Islam, right? I mean, you know, this actually is bad for Islam. What these people have done to Islam, actually. They are giving bad names to Islam by the things they have said and the things they have done. You know, under our constitution, Islam is under the purview of the who? The rulers. I say we must get all our MPs to do this by actually asking for separation of religion from the state. At least begin with the federal government. And separation of powers, of course. You know, that goes without saying. That leads to corruption. That leads to all the problems that we are having right now. You look at how the politicians using religion. Look at Najib Razak, you know, gone to mosque to do this, whatever they call it, what? Sumpah Lantai and all that. And they are Malays who actually believe. And look at political party PAS, how they are riding on the religion for their own benefit. We say that we shouldn't use religion in politics because we have seen for how long it's been ridden on and it's been abused by politicians. So this is really the key. If all people cannot see this is the start of the problem, then you know, we will never. You know, it's good to say, oh, we want to go against corruption. We have to stop this corruption. We have to help the Malays and all that. Nothing will work if the government keep on brainwashing, indoctrinating the Malays with a certain kind of view of Islam. So I say that federal government has no business in managing religion. Give it back to the Sultan. I also believe this country is in dire need for independent voices in parliament. Why? Because I see political parties, I'm sorry to PSM and DAP. Of course, DAP and PSM can't talk about religion. As I said, it is the problem because they will get trashed. But look at other parties who supposedly to be the, you know, Islamic party lah, and the other one is so-called multiracial party. Have you ever heard any of the politicians from these political parties say anything about the real problem, the use of religion in politics? They won't dare because it's too sensitive. Okay? Whilst independence, or even if some of them want to say, they won't dare say because they have bosses, they have these top bosses say, don't say this, this is too sensitive, we cannot lose our so-called grassroots vote. Or they have political party wing or things like that. They have people they must listen to. Not based on the logo. Okay? So I really think that, you know, and people have these thoughts that, if political parties don't win, then who can be the government? Hello, when you are in parliament, you all, the like-minded politicians, political party, can get together and form a government. This has happened in other countries. Why do you think only major political parties must win? And look at their problems right now. I mean, I'm sorry to say I don't want to trash any political party, but you can know immediately they are all fighting amongst them. Okay? In the place where I am going to run, in Batu, PKR fighting amongst themselves. Who's going to run in PKR? You know? And when people say, Siti, there will be a lot of competition. Good, come along, you know, I mean, everybody's free to run. But ask them, really the key question, what are the changes you want to make for this country? Don't talk about corruption because everybody's talking about it. Everybody knows it's bad. But how are you going to tackle this at the root of the problem? For me, the root cause of all of these problems we are seeing is the use of religion in politics. That goes down to the problem in our education. That goes down to the problem of our government departments. That goes down to everything. So always think, you want to cure something, you have to cure the sickness, you know, not the symptoms. So I hope that people start to open their minds and see that we cannot allow our country, our government to keep on using religion as their political tool. I mean, look right now in Jakim is now in every of the government department. Okay, if they want to do anything, they have to consult Jakim. What the hell? I'm sorry. What has religion got to do with any kind of like education? You know, like in the police force. Now every IPD you will see there will be a surah or masjid.
1 minute.
Yeah, or 1 minute. Okay, never mind. So yeah, I think I passed on the point that is the use of religion in politics. So any questions you guys can ask later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, I'm going to separate the two independents, so I'm going to give the mic to Tommy. Tommy, you got 10 minutes.
Mr. Moderator, ladies and gentlemen, I thank the organizers for inviting me. But like Murray, I don't want to use the 10 minutes allotted to me, which actually I didn't know was going to happen, to speak about politics. I'd rather spend the time answering questions, but I'll take maybe 2 or 3 minutes since you asked me to do it. And my brief points would be that if GE15 happened and could have happened, and Kitsian has already said how pessimistic even the opposition were in the 2-3 weeks running up to May 10th, but it happened. So if GE15 happened and resulted for the first time in 60 years a new political coalition given the chance to govern Malaysia, then I suggest that there are stronger objective reasons why GE15, today's opposition, cannot repeat it. So when the title is Dark Clouds, Dark Forces, Dark Clouds Control Our Environment, I suggest that the winds of change can blow away those dark clouds. So that's what we must aim for. We must aim for a repeat in GE15, what happened in GE14. And I'm just going to touch on 3 points to illustrate my fundamental point, which is GE15 can be a repeat of GE14. And the 3 points are, first of all, I think the raison d'etre of Dr. M resigning and allowing the 2 administrations to follow 2.5 years ago was that they were under the impression that the government was not Malay enough. So it was illustration of Malay ketuhanan, and so now you have in the last 2.5 years a cabinet that is absolutely dominated by the Malays. I would say maybe 20 or 26 or whatever, and the non-Malays are really sidelined, which is actually very unusual for Merdeka days because you had Alliance and Barisan. But that was the basis. So 2.5 years later, you have objective grounds to ask the question, is a Malay government more efficient and better? And I think the answer, and I think even the Malay electorate will say, are you kidding? They have just done such a bad job in governance. So on the Malay government has failed. So you must make that an issue. The second issue is the cancer of corruption. And I remind you that in the 2 years running up to 2018, all the opposition parties, including Kit Siang and then Dr. M, Tony Pua, so many others, and of course the journalists, and then including foreigners like Claire in Sarawak Report, focused on 1MDB and Najib's singular role in that. And of course, towards the election, Dr. M very skillfully called him Pencuri. And the 52% of Malaysians who voted for change, for Pakatan Harapan, I think nearly all of them took into account 1MDB and the corruption. I suggest 2.5 years later, the corruption is much worse. So sadly, the 52% of the country, the majority who voted against corruption, has been saddled with 2 administrations which are just totally engulfed in corrupt activity. And the transactions are so many. I mean, there's so many. And then the agencies are doing nothing. There are no, whether it's Serba Dynamic, we call LCS, the little ships, the defense contracts. There are just so many. And so the opposition must focus on corruption and have 3 or 4 positive suggestions as to combat corruption. So that's election issue number 2. And number 3, the economy. And surely everybody will agree that the 2.5 years of the two prime ministers with the same finance minister has been the worst government for running the economy, with the result that as we speak now, our economy is at its weakest, our debt level is at its highest, our currency is being bashed. I think it's 4.5345, whatever it is. And that affects everybody because we are so dependent on foreign imports. They always have this myth about what we export, and our exporters love weak currency. Well, I question the economics of that statement, but even assuming for a minute that's correct, that's not even 5% of the population. The vast majority of Malaysians are suffering when your currency is weak because you've got imported inflation. We've got about 1 million Malaysians who send their children abroad because the educational system has collapsed, and they are suffering. So the terrible the bad state of the currency is symptomatic of the economic mismanagement of the government. Of course, I have not talked about cost of living. I have not mentioned inflation, and of course unemployment and the underemployment that Michael just mentioned. Okay, let's take the $1,000 example. I'm happy to say, he says there are Malays in Sungai Siput who are happy to be employed at 1,000 ringgit, and I think that's actually correct. So a few consequences flow. So as Siti Kasim just said, why are you talking of NEP? You've had NEP for 55 years. Why is NEP not having a concrete measure effect on this Malay gentleman who is earning $1,000? So NEP has bypassed him. NEP has not helped him one bit. Then we ask, why is he being paid $1,000 in Sungai Siput in 2022 when there's already a minimum wage of 1,005? And the answer, of course, there are many reasons. Of course, the employers can exploit, employers can bully, but the principal reason why the employers can bully is because of foreign labor and undocumented labor. And we got 5 or 6 million foreigners here who depress the wages of Malaysians. So I stopped there because I think I've already got 5 minutes. So that I've given the opposition at least 3 critical issues to galvanize Malaysians so that we will have a repeat of GE15, and all we need is to aim for about 80% of a turnout. Last time we were hoping for an 85% turnout, and I think we got 85-86%. We got 85-86%. So we were aiming for 85, and we got. So this time I would say you should just aim for 80% and get the young 25 and below who are now there's compulsory registration, and get them. I'm not convinced that many of them will turn up to vote, but if you get to 60% of them and 80% on a national average, I assure you there will be a repeat in GE15, and we will have a new government. So let's hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. How many of you, just a show of hands, how many of you were pessimistic in the run-up to GE14 of Pakatan Harapan victory? How many of you are pessimistic? How many of you were optimistic? Oh, very interesting. I can attest to the fact that Tommy, in a side conversation for GE14, actually told me he was optimistic of Pakatan Harapan victory. I thought it was a drink speaking, or was it? I
must promise it. I wrote on the Monday morning in Malaysia Kini. I wrote on Monday morning that the new government, and so many people telephoned me and said, "What are you drinking?" And then it happened on Wednesday. So it's on the record.
Yeah, Opus is a great venue for dreaming. Okay, I'd like to call upon the next speaker. I'm going to ask Ambiga. Sorry. Okay, so Ambiga, could you your 10 minutes, please? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And actually, because he's given a lot of hope, and I think you must always have hope. Change takes time, and I know after the Sheraton move, a lot of people have been very upset. They have also been very upset with the opposition, which seemed to be in a state of inertia. Okay, and nothing seemed to be. Didn't seem to be focused. So everyone is. I have a lot of friends who said to me, "We're not going to go out and vote," because when I say to them, "You must go out and vote," they ask me, "But who should I vote for?" When no one asked me that question before GE15. Now that is something, a reality the opposition has to deal with. And where I agree with Dr. Jayakuma, I agree on a lot of things with Dr. Jayakuma, in fact most things. Where I agree is, in my view, there was not enough self-examination after the Sheraton move by the opposition. Things don't happen by chance. Of course, what was done was a treachery. I'm not going to call it anything else. But those left behind should have done some self-examination. I believe it did occur in certain parties, but it would have been nice to see all of opposition get together and ask the question, why did the Sheraton move happen? How did it happen? If we were strong, would it have happened? So those are the kinds of questions, because you need to do that kind of self-examination before you go into the next elections. And I do agree also that many were taking the easy way of, they're the traitors, not us, it's them. Nothing to do with us. That's easy, but unfortunately not very productive. So what I would say going forward, looking at GE15 is this. I'm not sure where the opposition is. I actually don't care where UMNO is, although it is quite divided, but they have a way of uniting when it comes to power. Make no mistake about that, okay? But where's the opposition? At what state are we in? Sorry, Kate, I have to say this, not because I want to just criticize, but I am genuinely concerned, and I think it can be fixed. So, PH, yes, I mean, they still are on strong grounds. They have very experienced MPs, but people are looking for something new, something different, a new message. Don't give us the same message. A new message, something that is really going to make people sit up and say, I'm going to leave the comfort of my home on election day and go out and vote, no matter what it takes. So that's what we're looking for. Not same old, same old. Right now, we're getting same old, same old. And that's why I think people like Siti are a breath of fresh air. They're bringing something new to the table. They're shaking things up, right? People in Batu will go out and vote, I can tell you, because they've got these choices. It may not be very good for the result ultimately, but it doesn't matter. So, this is what we're looking for PH. Not the same old, tired and worn out, statements. Arrogant, lack of humility as well, by the way. But that's what we would like to see. So, for example, Muda is on the scene. So is Muda going to join PH? They have asked to. Well, big question mark. I would have thought something like this is not very difficult to decide, but clearly it is. We don't know what the issues are, but the point is, everybody has differences, even in PH, even with Muda, even amongst themselves. The only question I have for the opposition is, are you all prepared to put aside those differences for one reason and one reason only, to defeat Barisan Nasional? That must be the only question, right? But it doesn't seem to be. So you see, it's all very well to say we are thinking, considering, etc. We don't have time. And I can tell you, you cannot whip up the sentiment of the public if you don't give them
tell them clearly now what our choices are. And that's what I think is one of the issues that we have to be concerned about. Now, the other thing is, underestimate Bersatu. Don't underestimate PAS. Okay? These people have been working with their base from cradle to grave. They look after them cradle to grave. Very hard to break those sorts of loyalties. So don't underestimate them in the next election. Bersatu, if you look at the Johor elections, it tells you a thing or two about the strength of Bersatu, because those who don't want to vote for UMNO for various reasons choose Bersatu. They may not be choosing anyone else. So that is another thing that we have to, I'm assuming that the PH, etc., are actually speaking to those who are in the know with the data. But I think we cannot underestimate the other side, let me tell you. Now, the other thing is this, it's everything. We would be so successful if we had been tough on corruption from day one. Look at our MACC. Look at what is going on. Scandal after scandal after scandal. And you know what the problem is? Because there are so many, people are getting too used to it. And they don't think there's anything wrong. But that's what is killing us in every aspect of our lives. And unless the parties have a tough stand on corruption, and thank God PH was in government when the charges were brought. Because after the decision, I believe, after the federal court decision, people seem to have hope again. And we need to ride that wave. That is the wave we need to ride. We need to build on that hope that our institutions work. When our institutions work, good things happen. The right things happen. Now, the problem with the Sheraton move was that it basically, people lost hope, lost faith in our electoral process. And rightly so. So I'm hoping the anti-hopping law, I know it's already been passed, I'm hoping it will come into force. I don't know what the status is with that. It must come into force quickly. Because then people will realize Sheraton can't happen again, or it's unlikely, because of the anti-hopping laws. That's why the anti-hopping law is so critical. Now, I also want to add a couple of things. For me, as I say, corruption is the biggest issue. And the theme, I would suggest a theme for the opposition for the next elections. Never again, that was a theme I think in the Philippines as well, never again must we vote in corrupt politicians. Never again. And that's what the theme should be. That should be what resounds in the next elections. Now, I also think that my fear for opposition again is not everyone is on the same page that they want to win the next elections. I want to be sure that every single person in the opposition wants to win the next election. To me, it can be done. To me, it can be done. But every single one of them must have that same plan. They must be on the same page. Now, there are a lot of issues, and I'm not going to, obviously, I don't have time to deal with it. I actually think, I said to someone, I really wish our politicians, MPs, etc., only had one term in power. Maybe 6 years. Because then they won't keep doing things. Then they will work for the country. Because they won't care whether they are popular or not. They will do what is right. Because right now, everybody just wants to be popular. That's why religion, race, etc. takes center stage. And of course, I have another lot of things to say about race and religion, because I think they're playing a very dangerous game. And we're getting too used to people saying racist, making racist and extremist comments and ignoring it. And that is a dangerous trend. We must never allow anyone to get away with that. Ever. We must always call it out. Any kind of extremism. And honestly, Mari, until you wrote that article about Dr. Asri and Hadiawang, I didn't think anyone could be more extreme than Hadiawang, but obviously there are people who are. That's an article you should read. So there are some worrying trends. Those are the actual things going on the ground, okay? But that's something that whoever is in power will have to deal with. They must deal with, because otherwise it's going to eat away at the fabric of our society. So, I will conclude by saying this. Maybe none of this matters anyway, because maybe with global warming, the planet's going to be destroyed, okay? And I haven't heard a single plan for a climate change by any of the parties. I think Muda has, but nobody else has come up with a concrete plan to deal with climate change. That includes the floods, etc., etc. And we have so many experts actually on climate change. If you're on Twitter and you follow them, there's so many amazing Malaysians who've got solutions to the problems of climate change. Deforestation, extinction of animals. Where's the plan, PH? Okay? A comprehensive, workable plan for climate change. As I say, because at the end of the day, we can do whatever we want on the political front, but if we're all going to be standing knee-high in water every floods, then really we're not going to get very far.
Thank you.
So with that, thank you.
Give you an extra 30 seconds because I'm glad you brought up climate change. Okay, so we're going to be heading into the Q&A session after Taufik. So just gather your thoughts, because you'll be given exactly 30 seconds to ask your question, directed to either an individual or to the entire panel. No time for long speeches, okay? So just gather your thoughts, even as you listen to Taufik, our last speaker.
Thank you, Sharat. First of all, I'd like to congratulate him with UMNO and Bersatu, and now he's doing it with Pejuang. Now, this is the reason why his darkness is casting a pall over the whole political landscape. And I had a fight with GE15 before the general elections on why they should not give support to Mahathir and Mahyudin, because I said these two characters are not fit to fight Najib, because they are the two, they're just as corrupt as Najib. And it will be a very happy day for me when I see Mahathir and Mahyudin in court as well. Another thing which I'd like to say is that there used to be a joke among me and my liberal Malays about Daim. We used to say that 10 dimes make $1. If you're in America, you know what I mean. I don't think I need to say very much today, because the trouble with being the last speaker is everybody else has said what you wanted to say. So I'll leave the floor right now and open it up to questions. Thank you.
If you want to take that in a general sense, these promises to adopt declarations, their effectiveness. Huh? Will you look at it?
Firstly, let me say this. I'm some hearing problem. So I cannot catch what our friend has just asked.
He said, would you accept the 5-pillar reform agenda, reform declaration that was, put together some years ago?
I think Mr. Lim Pitsiang wouldn't know what the pillars are.
Okay, so maybe Iris will sit down. We'll come back to that question. Next question, please.
I have the pillars here.
Siti, would you like to read out the pillars?
Yes, okay. The draw independent pillars. Okay. Pillar 1 is to ending divisive politics. Ending divisive politics. And then pillar 2, MA 63, delivering to Sabah and Sarawak. All that was promised without further delay. Pillar 3, restoring all guaranteed freedoms back to the Rakyat. Pillar 4, restoring all institutional power back to the Rakyat. Establishing a need-based affirmative and poverty eradication policy and program. the Pillar 5. So
Okay, thank you very much for that, Siti.
Well, I think there's a problem. That should be the basis for a new measure.
Yes. Yeah.
Next question.
Sexist and racist. So that is going to be our difficulty. I mean, what Tommy says is right. If it is anything but UMNO, and I think we're still at that stage where it is anything but UMNO, then it doesn't matter who the candidate is as long as they come from that particular party. And by the way, you see, we have a paucity of good candidates, but I think we must demand of PH, if that is the party we're going to back, or whoever you back, okay, that they put forward quality candidates, or we will refuse to go out and vote. That's what I think we have to start telling them, so that the candidates are better candidates. You see, but unfortunately, the reality is, time-wise, for the next elections, if it is not UMNO, if the team is anyone but UMNO, then you've got to be prepared to vote for candidates, whoever they put up. All right, according to the party. That's the thing. I would have difficulty voting. I'm very lucky. I have Hannah Yo in my constituency, and I will vote for her anytime. All right. So, but I think there is no harm in us now demanding the opposition put up good candidates if they want our support. There's no harm in that.
Okay, so can everybody put up their hands again so the person holding the mic knows who you are, and then she can also give a sense of priority to who's put up their answers. Everybody will get a chance. You don't have to stand up. Yes, the mic will come to you. So
Thank you.
Sit down.
My name is John, and I work in government service. When we talk about dark forces, we don't have to guess where the dark forces are, because you need authority, you need power to apply dark force principles on the ground. So my question is directed to Tommy, if you don't mind, Tommy. Where did Raymond Ko go? Where did Pastor Helmi go? Where did Amri Chemat go? Cannot the police answer this question? If not, who is running this damn country? Thank you.
Tommy, do you want to take that question?
Sad to say, I can't answer that. I mean, the only agency that can answer it is the security forces, the people who are looking after it. They have never answered the question. So, I mean, we tried in our short period there. We asked them, but they would run us around. It's because of who guards the guards, who polices the police, the oldest thing from Caesar days. So, really unsatisfactory.
As someone who follows the movement of cases which are related to religion, okay, I have seen a High Court judge actually decided, which is not following the Constitution, and now it's under appeal, the Sisters in Islam case. What I see is that with cases related to Islam, there is a massive problem when we are handling it. Okay? But when it comes to corporate matters and things like that, and a constitutional matter, it's okay. We have really strong judges. But what I fear is the next generation of judges. Currently, I would say that we have really good judges on the FX court, yeah? But what I fear is the future. Now you have to understand the new blood will come in, and this new blood, what sort of education they've had, what sort of background they've had. Now you have to remember that all the new people on the bench as well, in the judiciary, even in our government, they will be filled up with people who have gone through our education system that emphasize that Islam comes first. You know, when I talk about religion now, this is my worry, because I'm not anti-Islam or anti-religion. I just fear that the indoctrination that have been taught to our youngsters will affect the future of our sort of quality of judges. Are they going to follow religion first, or are they going to uphold the constitution? And then we have these lecturers like Syam Rahayu teaching in UIA. Okay, she teaches what kind of constitutional law, you know. And you have the young lawyers now, you see the so-called Muslim lawyers saying that Islam is ultimate, is more important than our federal constitution. You see, we need to think about this. Yeah, she's in Suarga. I mean, of course, I'm not surprised. The current government will put in their people. Yeah, and this Syam Rahayu is just one of the so-called professor that claim to be like Professor Negara and all that. Yeah. And they have the benefit of advising our king. Now, start thinking about that.
No one presses. Okay.
Thank you. My name is Philip. I will be very brief. The question is for the number of observers have blamed the deep state for the downfall of Pakatan Harapan. It is a very strong block of power that operates across departments, institutions, and ministries that are very against reforms because evidently they benefit from the status quo. So I'll be curious to hear what the panel thinks about it, and I know that one of the authors here has written extensively about the deep state, so maybe you may want to comment.
Does anybody subscribe to the deep state theory of politics?
Yeah.
Well, let me answer you asked him in reference to the fall of Pakatan Harapan.
Yes, but more general.
But let me tell you, the Pakatan Harapan fall was a political decision. There are 220 MPs in different coalition parties, and the parties shifted coalition. And there was nothing to deep state. It was ambition. There was a desire to stop Anwar Ibrahim. There was unhappiness about DAP, and then the Malay parties were felt threatened, and they got together. So it was a political decision by politicians who betrayed the people of Malaysia. Nothing to do with the civil servants, or very little to do with the civil servants. Nothing to do with deep state.
Miguel, you had a different view?
No, I agree with Tommy on that, but I don't think you can totally discount the rumblings or the workings of the deep state through the entire 2-year period, whether through civil servants, because what I understand is some of the ministers found it very difficult, right, when they were giving instructions to civil servants and so on. Because look, you can't blame them as well. They're not used to any other government. So there is an underlying. There was a move to get rid of Pakatan Harapan, I think, and probably a move that gained momentum when these people also then decided that they wanted to stop Anwar, whatever reasons they had. Then obviously it was a political move. It had to be a political move. But I don't think you can totally discount their deep state.
When I talked about dark forces, I didn't mean anything to do with the deep state.
But do you believe there is a deep state?
Well, I think there is, because I think in any bureaucracy where there are vested interests, you will find that these vested interests tend to protect their own. And it's not unlikely that if a minister from a different party comes in and gives a directive to a civil servant, he will have his bureaucracy methods of delaying the decision to be implemented or find a way for
of religion and state, at least partly the federal government. Then pillar number 2 is about Sabah and Sarawak, the MA63. We should honor the promise made to the Borneans, as soon as possible. And pillar 3 is restoring all the guaranteed freedoms back to the rakyat, because slowly our freedom has been taken and chipped away by the government. And then the pillar 4 is about restoring all institutional power back to the rakyat. That means it's a separation of powers between the judiciary, the executive as well as the parliament. And then pillar 5 is all about establishing a needs-based, affirmative and poverty eradication policy and program. That means stop looking from race and religious eyes. Everyone that needs help, we should help. That is what the vision of independence government would be. And who would I be aligned to? Obviously, I would be aligned to somebody who would be upholding these pillars. And what Mr. Lim Kit Siang already said, that he said that should be our manifesto for PH. Then I think that's already answered. I just want to say from the independence side that we have gone to talk to the leaders of DAP, Mr. Kit Siang. I even met Mr. Kit Siang before I meet the rest, Mr. Anthony Lok, not just me, a few of us, and Chin Tong. We have met Mat Sabu, we have met Syed Sadiq, but we didn't see PKR because they are selfish, okay? Even look at what is happening now. They refuse to have Buddha into PH. Why? Because they think they are, the champions in PH. I know for a fact, I am very sure DAP as well as Mat Sabu are very acceptable or acceptance of Buddha. But PKR, they think they are too big. They think that they can win the election without, real working together. Yeah. So this is the problem. I mean, I actually tweeted, I just replied to Professor James Chin that, Professor was telling PH, come on, why are you not letting Buddha in? So I said, I agree. Then I said, the problem is PKR. And guess what? Rafizi took offense on my tweet when I said PKR is the problem. And then he actually said, he retweeted and he said, okay, Siti Kasim, we are ready to go against you in your places of choice. Something like that along the line. So he's like, oh, why is he getting upset when I said, if I am PKR, I will say, okay, we will look at our, what's that? Poor performance or why you think like that, instead of trying to attack somebody, who wants the best for our nation, right? And as finally I want to say, like Taufik forgot to say, do you want what type of Malays to be in parliament? Do you want Malays like us who will uphold everybody's right, no matter what race or what faith you have? Or you want a party that will not go against this use of race and religion in their manifesto or whatever they say, or too afraid to go against it? So that is your choice. I think I have said enough.
Thank you so much, Siti. Okay, so Siti unfortunately brings the forum to a close. Thank you so much for all your questions. You can continue to ask them more questions if you can, waylay them as they try to escape.
Yeah, I know.